And we want to show you live pictures out of Minneapolis. The U.S. Homeland Security Department has confirmed reports of a federal officer shooting a person in the leg there during a traffic stop. Officials say the victim was a Venezuelan illegal immigrant attempting to evade arrest. A group of federal agents and Minneapolis police wearing gas masks has now fired tear gas into a crowd gathered close to where the shooting happened. Joining us now, Charles Kuck, founding partner at Kuck Baxter and a leading immigration lawyer. Last year, he represented South Korean nationals detained at a Hyundai facility in Georgia. First off, Charles, your take on what we're seeing in the streets of Minneapolis.
Honestly, this is insanity. There's just simply no legitimate purpose that the Trump administration is doing this other than to spread fear and panic, both among U.S. citizens and among immigrants.
There is rising pressure to prosecute protesters. I'm just wondering, what's your take on how aggressive the handling is when it comes to protests?
Well, the Trump administration has decided to take a very aggressive approach to protesters who are clearly exercising their legitimate rights to both record, to taunt, to harass these officers. They're not physically doing anything to them. And we know today that officers were reminded by their bosses that they can be taunted, they can be yelled at, they can be followed. All of that is legitimate protesting in the United States. What the Trump administration is doing, however, like these pictures show, throwing tear gas, shooting some protesters, in fact, killing a woman last week, when in reality, their lives are not threatened in any way. And none of this is doing anything to, quote, capture bad, undocumented immigrants in the United States.
Is there legal basis for it? And is there a recourse for the people?
Well, in the United States, the Constitution basically says and limits the rights of the police in regards to arresting individuals, in regards to entering houses. The police in our country can, in fact, stop basically anybody within 100 miles of our border, whether that's the northern border or our ocean borders, and ask for identification. U.S. citizens, however, are not required to carry any identification to show they're U.S. citizens. But foreign nationals, including permanent residents, are required by law to carry their documents with them and produce them if asked within that area. What immigration is doing here, however, in Minneapolis, which is by, of course, our northern border, is a little bit beyond that. They are literally going door to door in some neighborhoods. We've seen them break into houses, which is a violation of our Fourth Amendment. And we've seen them do things intended to scare away protesters and those objecting to their presence. The only way to really stop this, though, is through a court order. The courts have been reluctant to intervene dramatically in what the Immigration Service is doing. But the other way is to file civil rights actions against the Department of Homeland Security. And we're beginning to see that in greater volume. Once that volume hits thousands of cases, I think perhaps the courts may then really intervene and order ICE to stop in the manner in which they're carrying out these raids. One thing I can tell you, their ultimate goal is to arrest undocumented immigrants. This is the exact wrong way to do that.
Charles, we hear that's been a backlash. Reports suggesting that perhaps U.S. attorneys in cities like L.A. and Chicago are making an exit. They're leaving. What are you hearing? What are you seeing on the ground?
Well, first of all, we're only seeing these troops in what you would call blue states in the United States. These are states that voted not for Trump in the last election. Most of our cities in the United States are run by Democrats. They tend to be more liberal places, places that do not support Trump. They also tend to have policies in place that protect immigrants and do not cooperate with ICE when somebody is arrested, for example, for an accident or driving without a license. These states tend to not hold them for ICE to come pick them up within 48 hours. What we're seeing actually is a backlash against people who didn't support Trump. We're not seeing them in places like Atlanta. Now, the state of Georgia voted for Trump this time, so we're not really seeing this level of activity here. Plus, something more important, we're not within 100 miles of the border. So the Border Patrol really can't be here, and ICE really can't be here to do the things that they're doing in Minneapolis, in Chicago, in Los Angeles, which are within that 100-mile zone. We'll see what happens beyond this. I suspect that ICE will be in Minneapolis for another few weeks before it becomes evident that they're not meeting their goals in arresting or detaining individuals. And then they'll move on to somewhere else.
And Charles, in Trump's latest move against immigration, he's putting a pause on immigration from third world countries. Is there a sense that this is a judicial overreach?
Oh, this is definitely beyond the scope of what is normally allowed in our republic. Congress controls the immigration laws in the United States. The president simply enforces them. And while the president is given some authority to bar entry into the United States from countries with an articulatable reason, and he did that for 39 countries, although that is subject to judicial challenge, this latest announcement is simply about the Department of State slow walking or even not issuing visas. The Department of State has had rulings against them several times in the last 5 or 6 years when they've done this, and each time the courts have ruled, no, you must adjudicate visas, you must issue visas, you have to make a decision. So I suspect there'll be additional litigation. I know myself and some colleagues have already filed litigation for those from the original 39 countries, and we'll be adding people from the rest of these countries, 70% of whom are from Africa. No surprise with this administration, but 2 are from Asia. We have Cambodia and Thailand on this list. We'll sue, we'll win, and the Department of State will have to issue these visas. What they are doing, however, with this crackdown is basically using as an excuse that people from these countries may abuse our welfare system without any factual evidence to begin denying visas. And this is how the Trump administration intends to slow down legal immigration to the United States.
How much leverage do you have, you think, Charles?
Oh, we have a lot of leverage in the courts. Once we get an injunction against the administration, they will be forced to begin adjudicating these cases. We suspect that will happen in the next 30 to 60 days. But there's going to be this pause for the next couple of months, specifically from these countries, where they're simply not going to be able to get mostly family-based visas. This ban, the 75 countries slowdown, is really on immigrant visas. It's not necessarily on visitor visas. It's not necessarily on employment-based visas. But 39 of these countries actually have a ban right now where even if they got a visa, they couldn't come into the United States.
Charles, thank you for your perspective today. Charles Kuck, founding partner at Cook Barter.